So let's kick into the interview now. So this is our first artist interview with Booker Skelding, who's an artist based in Caerphilly, South Wales. She's one of our mentees and a really interesting artist. I think we met about, it's maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, Booker, is that right?
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Yeah, and I found your work really interesting. I mean, most of your work is, would you call it documentary photography?
I would, yeah. There's a couple of projects that I've started which are based or inspired by nostalgia, and that usually is something that I'm thinking about in the past that's happened or is happening now, and I feel that it's important to document it in case it's forgotten or it changes, because things are changing so quickly.
Yeah, that's really important work in that way, isn't it? Because it's like a snapshot of a moment, and that moment then is gone. And if you haven't got something it's like memory, isn't it?
Yeah, like you could say every photograph is a documentary photograph in a way, but it's what you do with it afterwards, if it goes anywhere or if it's published, if it's in a series. I also like to put a bit of a fine art twist on some of my images.
So I was going to ask you just talk a little bit about your background, a bit about yourself, because you've had quite an interesting life.
Yeah, you could say that. Varied. Yeah, it's I kind of sort of change direction every 10 years. Like my interest in photography dates back to teenage years, because my grandfather had an old Pentax. Emmy was the model, and he actually left it to me. He's passed now. And he was always taking photographs, and I could never quite grasp the manual settings, and it's not something that I've been doing long, but I've probably been shooting in manual only for the last 5 years. But I took a documentary course in black and white film back in 2000 in the Chapter Arts in Cardiff, and that was kind of like the first time I got into it seriously. But because in between that, after that, having a baby and career, it was always just a hobby. But now, taking a degree in photography, and I'm now in my final year, I've done it part-time. It's become an obsession now. It's every day. I very rarely go anywhere without a camera, and I'm always lining up shots, looking around, and I'm just far more aware and observant, because I'm always thinking, do I need to document that? So that's where the history of me getting into photography has come from.
I find it really interesting, because it's like an object can be really influential on an artist's development. Like your granddad giving you that camera made huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was a very strong figure in my life, because he, if you like, was the father figure in my life, because my dad moved away when I was 8. He worked in Africa, in the mines. So every weekend I spent with him, and we talked of photography. And he even used to make his own frames to frame his work. But he didn't actually do the developing himself.
No.
So when I told him I did that black and white course and I was actually developing my own shots, he was very proud.
Yeah, I bet he was. And you know, I just wanted to say that doing a part-time degree is a real not obsession but determination, because is it 5 years?
Yes, this is my 5th year.
Yeah.
I started off with a foundation degree, and I thought I would stop there. But when the end of term comes and you get the summer off and you get 4 months off, I've found that I don't know what to do with myself, and my mood dips. So this is very much a therapy for me. I do it to bring my thinking to the current moment, which stops you thinking about the past and stops you worrying about the future. So yeah, this is very much something to stop you from stressing, stopping anxiety. And if I can make something useful out of it, all the better.
Yeah. No, it sounds great. I think that's a really interesting thing about you saying it's like you having the camera with you all the time. It's like a sort of appendage of your extension of your body. You hear, like, you know, all the famous photographers, just not, they wouldn't go out without a camera because it's just got to be there. It's always been there.
Yeah. Like I don't have a handbag, I've got a camera bag. And I don't think of taking a hairbrush or makeup out. I just think, have I got the right lens with me today? Because I try to travel light because I got a bad back. I find it so difficult to just do one lens, one camera. I want to take at least 3 lenses.
Yeah, this is getting a bit techie, but I think it's really interesting to know about the camera you use, because it must be is it a digital SLR? Is it something like that?
I've gone to mirrorless in the last 12 months. I loved my DSLR. It was a Nikon D750. It was a beautiful camera. I was back when I was using film, because that's where I started, was film. It was a Canon EOS 3, and that was a bit of a workhorse. I was a lump, but I changed to mirrorless because of weight.
Yeah.
Even though there's not much in it, because you've got to think of the lenses, and I've still got the DSLR FX lenses with an adapter, but the oscillating screen is key for me, so that I can pull it out of the back, twist it round, and instead of me getting on the floor, I can see what shot I'm lining up with that oscillating screen.
Yeah.
And the Z6 Nikon is what I've got, and I've also got a Z50 which has been converted to infrared, because I get some really nice fine art images which are dreamy with that camera. Something a little bit different. It takes me into a bit of a dream world that when I use that one.
So nowadays, do you work with film, you know, like analog film, or is it all digital?
No, I'm still using film as well. I have a Nikon F3, which was back in the 70s and 80s, the film camera to have. It's quite heavy, but I just love the feel of it. It reminds me, I guess, of using my granddad's camera when I'd go down there on the weekend. The sound of the shutter unwinding on the film, and even though I take my time with digital anyway, because I was brought up taking film, I don't waste shots. Even though I've gone over to digital, I still take my time, and I want to get it. I'd like to get it in one shot. Yeah, film slows you down, and I guess that's why I struggle with sports. That genre for me, I can't keep up with the speed.
Yeah. I must apologize that we had these, this is for the people who were watching this, we had these questions and I've immediately gone off the track into this chatting, so which is great. So I hope that's all right with you, Booker.
Yeah, that's fine.
One of the things, because you've talked about well, no, I think it would be interesting. Maybe there's more you need to say about why you make art. What you talked a bit about the therapy and the relaxation, but is there more you want to say about that?
Why I make art? Well, that is the main reason for myself. When I see some results, I'm shocked, and I think, oh, that's absolutely beautiful. I look at it and I think, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I could take a photograph like that. And it makes me feel good about myself, and it's a tonic. And when you get feedback with social media, it's like somebody praising you and tapping you on the back. And I guess because life is pretty difficult for many reasons, even now with COVID, a different set of reasons, it's nice to make some imagery to take you away from that, and yeah, just to feel joyous, really, and to make other people happy, for them to see it, and if they connect with it, and creates a bit of nostalgia for them, then yeah, I love that feedback as well. I like to try and bring the community into seeing where, if I take images of where I grew up in Singennydd, then I'll post them on the Singennydd page on Facebook, and it gets a conversation going, and everybody's like reminiscing, and it brings the community together then, because at the moment we can't all get together.
Yeah.
So showing pictures on social media is a good way of doing that as an alternative, because there is nothing like seeing something in print.
Yeah.
When you print an image, and then you can pass that round when your friends come or your family come, or you can put it on a wall in an exhibition. Yeah, I can't wait to get back to that.
Yeah, let's hope it's not too long. Have you got any particular artists who you really like their work, who've like inspired you and influenced you in some ways?
Yes. If I go to one of my websites, I can show you some imagery and talk you through.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, just bear with me and I'll share screen now.
I'm just going to say to you that I remember meeting someone maybe 15 years ago in like an art school, who said, film photography is dead, it's all digital, why bother, why would you bother going in a dark room, why would you do that? And it's not the case. It's a bit like people said books were finished, because why would you get a book when you could you know, get a Kindle and.
Yeah, absolutely. I like tangible. I don't process the film myself, but I've done some because of the facilities we had in the university. But of course, we can't do that any longer. Taking this guy, John Free, this photographer, he inspired me to buy the Nikon F3 film camera. That's what he used. He did a project in America, a photo essay, and he photographed homeless people who lived under the train station.
Mm-hmm.
And he made friends with them, and he documented their lives. The punchiness of the black and whites, and he gives captions with his images, and he tells a bit of a story of the people that he meets. So John Free, yeah, he's one of the photographers that I like, and yeah, he led me to the Nikon F3 and the 50mm lens, and when I go out with that, it just slows me down. I take my time. And then we've got Edward Tinsky, excuse my pronunciation.
I think right, but
I like what he does with his imagery to show the destruction that's happening to the planet. So his images are used. He's taken tragedies and oil spills here, but he's doing stuff for the better, and raising awareness. So yeah, and I like the colours and the patterns in his work. So if I click over to the other site, we got Ansel Adams. I think most photographers love his work.
Yeah.
In particular, I like his landscapes where there's water, and his slow shutter speeds. It just it kind of makes you look for longer because it's all slowed down. It's all delayed, so it stops the viewer from rushing, I think, when you've got slow moving water images. Obviously his black and white contrast work is stunning, very powerful, and he didn't have such a portable camera. His camera was a large format, so I can't imagine what kind of bad back he must have had dragging that around, because he went to some remote spots, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite images of his.
Yeah.
The church, the path, especially with the project that I'm doing now at the moment, Losing My Religion. That's a very inspirational photo. I can explain about that a bit later with going through my project. These are a bit more contemporary and dreamy, even though they were taken in the 70s and 80s, but these are a bit more like fine art. They're a bit sort of dreamy. I think that's why I like some of the infrared images that I like to look at. There's a bit of a different twist on them, even though that's not even in focus, but
no, it's interesting.
But I liked it. I do like lots of bokeh images too. These I like for the colour. I would say black and white is my preference, but yeah, the world is now in colour, so colour is uplifting.
Yeah.
I love pictures of trees, especially this one with the snow on and the light shining through.
Amazing.
I'll just skip through these ones because I just want to show you Ross Hodinott's work. The clouds there, the slow shutter speed and the water, slow moving water. I think they're absolutely beautiful landscape images. If I want to go out for a walk, blow the cobwebs away, it's landscape photography day then. And I like close, intimate landscape pictures as well, like such as this one here. With the snowdrops.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's some images that, artists that inspire me. Sebastiao Salgado. I can't imagine how you need to be positioned to get a shot like that, how to get there. It's just tremendous, and dedication, because I'm sure he didn't have a drone. Salgado has either climbed a very high mountain or taken it from an aircraft. Yeah. It doesn't actually state where.
There's a photo of his of a gold mine in Brazil where everyone is they're just covered in dirt and dust, and everything is dark, and you just feel like you can just see the look in everyone's eyes that the work is hard. And
I know the photo. Yeah, I know the photo. He used his imagery to raise awareness of the lack of health and safety for the mine workers, and to combat the slave labor. And this guy planted a forest, didn't he?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, him and his wife spent 40 years planting trees in these areas where all the mines and the digging and mining had ruined the topography of the land. And he nurtured a forest, and yes, the pictures are stunning.
Oh, that's really nice, but I want to see your work now. We've seen what inspires you, but it would be really, because one of the things I was interested with John Free about photographing people, because that's been always like quite a big discussion in photography, and it's been quite a big sort of ethical issue around how, like, say, some of the photos from Vietnam and you still read it about like where whoever's filming an incident of someone and they're just the observer, and the question of them being what's the ethics of them not getting involved. There was that young girl in Vietnam who had napalm and she was photographed, but you're thinking, should you have photographed her in her distress? Though that changed. It's an interesting one because it made such a change in the world, that photograph. The film actually was the film of her.
Journalism, you got to hand it to the photographers. It's what they do for a photograph.
Yeah.
And if I went into this as my first job, my first career, and I was younger, I would be as gutsy and as dangerous. And I guess a bit of that background is from being a police officer for 19 years. But now circumstances that I can't carry on with that career. So my lifelong hobby of photography, I'm making now my career, if you like. But I don't, I can't go out and be a journalism photographer. I just physically wouldn't be able to do it. But I would like my work to be useful, and I guess to help people then.
Yeah. Let's have a look at your work.
Okay.
I think you're Losing My Religion has got an element in it of those.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is my website here, and I've got a few projects listed. Losing My Religion is what I'm working on at the moment, and it is for my degree. But it started back in 2016, and I had no idea at the time that it would end up being my final major project. But I think to create a good project, you have to be photographing something you're passionate about. So the story here is that my local church has been sold, and I can't access, or the community doesn't have the use of the church anymore. So I wanted to document the closure of the church, and in some of the pictures demonstrate the barriers of practice in religion that some people face purely because the churches are closing, and also from being rejected by the church. And in particular, myself, I always felt when I reached adulthood and realized my sexuality, that it didn't fit with going to church and being a Christian anymore. And I miss not being able to find that comfort and warmth in the family of the church.
Mm.
So these images are narrating that story. And you can see that there isn't anybody in the church. This church here is a sister church to the one that's closed, and it's on top of a mountain and nobody can get to it. It's very difficult for disabled people to access the church, whereas in the hometown of St Gennydd, you'd be able to open your front door and just walk down the street and there was the church. But this one, the sister church, St Elands, is absolutely beautiful. And thankfully I can access it, but not today because we got COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is part one of the imagery. Since taking these, I, before COVID shut down the churches, or for health and safety reasons, I'm not allowed to go into St Elands anymore. I met the minister there, and I explained to him what I was doing, and could I photograph the inside. And he said, yeah, you can even photograph communion next Sunday and meet the congregation, even join in the congregation. And I felt like I should explain to him about the issue of not practicing being a gay person. And he said, oh, things have moved on since you were, since the 70s and 80s. we are an inclusive church and we welcome you with open arms. And in fact, one of our clergy members is transgender. So I was, well, I felt welcomed and I felt straight away warmth. And the second part of the project, when I put them up on the website, they are of the congregation, and yeah, you could just see the project turning in a different direction, and it's interesting how it's panned out, how it's worked out.
You said that's part one. What is there a part two in your mind then?
I've got the images. Part two is the fact that when I started taking, part one was my loss of religion and the community's loss of religion, not being able to go to that church. But the sister church, although there's not many there and it's a very small congregation, I was welcomed, and it's almost flipped, and I'm actually finding my religion. And I document that in part two, in the imagery. And I guess at the moment I'm at a crossroads as to wondering if I will be a full practicing Christian and accepting both identities of being gay and a Christian.
Yeah. That's really interesting, Booker. That's quite a story.
Yeah. And I know this is like another, I could talk about this for hours. Another leg of this journey might be part three, because the church is, the sale fell through with the developer, because the community is opposing this church being changed into a block of flats. I'm hoping that, I know this is a crazy idea, I'm hoping I can buy it. And I'm going to turn it into a community project.
Yeah.
And somewhere where I can hang my work and bring the community together somehow, because there's so much ground with it. The gardens itself, you know, we could plant vegetables and maybe have a community centre there. But I can dream.
Well, what would life be without dreams? Dreams do become real. Not always, but without the dream, the bit at the other end where they become real wouldn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good. I think we're sort of getting near the end of our chat, which has been fascinating, and I really thank you for showing us your work. We will put links on the website on our website, the -one, to your Instagram and to your Wix website.
Great. Thank
Is
you.
there anything else you want to say, or you feel like we maybe missed something quite important?
Books, maybe books. I know we can't access them at the moment, but is looking at, if you want to become a good photographer, keep looking at other people's work, keep looking at photographs in their flesh, printed in a book, not only off the screen. They look and feel completely different when you've got them in your hand. So yeah, I miss library books.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to show you an alternative genre of close-up landscape work, dreamy. This is to take me away from the heavy. Sometimes projects can get a bit heavy and you need a break, and you can photograph. I photograph other stuff, which takes me away from that. There's a bit of and you can also then come back with it with a different view and more inspiration and more ideas to continue with the project. I just wanted to show you these infrared images.
Oh yeah.
Taken with the converted camera, and they're just I don't know whether that's large enough for you to see.
Yeah.
But see what I mean about taking you into a different world?
Yeah.
It looks like it's been snowing, but the foliage turns to white snow and is magical. And this is with a 720 converted filter put inside the camera. So you can't go back unless you have it converted back. But yeah, they're just a different kind of landscape image.
Well, it's brilliant. It's been like a joy to be taken through your world, because it's really interesting. And thanks for your time, and thanks for the inspiration.
That's my pleasure. It's the first time I've done an interview, so yeah, talking about your work and refreshing. It's been refreshing for me. So I just can't wait to get back out there with my camera now.
Yeah. Thanks, Booker.
That's fine, Mike. Anytime.